Hey guys, Seth Fuller, your Texas trial champion here. I recently got asked and have been seeing a lot of conversation about Texit, Texas secession. Now, having lived in Texas my whole life, I know that somebody as positive seceding from the Union since 1846, the year after we joined the Union. And so I hear about it pretty regularly. Doesn't seem serious, but every time it's talked about, those the conservative Republicans here in Texas, they kind of get a shine in their eye and they like it. You could tell they all like it, ostensibly. And basically, the whole succession is, well, when we joined the Union in the United States in 1845, the federal government was controlled by the United States Constitution, which actually reflected the beliefs that us Texans have, that there should be a limited big government and that the smaller governments should have say over how they run most of the things. And that since that point, the federal government has been expanded through both legislation and Supreme Court decisions and has become too powerful and taken too many powers away from the states, which all sounds well and good. So let's secede, right? Except for one thing. In 2023, the Texas legislature passed the Texas Regulatory Consistency Act that went into effect just a few months ago. Now, this act takes powers away from the local government. Essentially, it says that, well, the state of Texas should have the powers that haven't been taken by the federal government, and so the municipalities, should not be able to take that power away from the states. So almost anything that matters, they allowed private citizens to sue the state of Texas for violating these and using these powers, usurping these powers ostensibly. And so we shouldn't have the municipalities deciding what the state has control over, the state government has control over. Now, what does this have to do with secession? Well, that's very easy. Essentially, what we're saying is that now that the federal government has overstepped its powers, we should take that power away from the federal government and just become our own federal government, if you please, our own grand government, and govern ourselves. Except for, after this law, which was just recently passed and passed by Republicans, our state government would have all of the power. Now, in 1845, when we joined the Union, the United States the United States population was a little over 20 million, and the Texas population was a little over 200,000. So to make that clear, recently, our Texas state legislature, which governs about 29 million people, bigger than the United States when we joined, has said that the municipalities many of around 200,000, many more, many less, should not have that power, that power should be concentrated in the state government. Which means if we were to secede, the people who are saying that the federal government has taken too much power will now become the grand government, and they will have all the power. And they're basically saying that we should leave the Union and then become a standalone state that has a power structure that would be absolutely 100% unacceptable in 1865 when we joined. In other words, if we were told that the United States federal government was going to take essentially all important powers away from the states, we would be like, this is not okay. Us 200,000 people want that power to ourselves. But if we secede, we're going to go to a government where the 200,000 people who are trying to take that for ourselves, the government explicitly said you cannot do that. That power does not belong to you and should not belong to you. If you don't think that's the dumbest decision ever and the least logical route that you can take, well, I don't know what to tell you. You should vote to secede. It's never going to happen and nobody talks about it seriously. But I think this is a perfect time to show you that you, Texans, the conservative Republicans, have allowed their state government to do things that they would never allow a federal government to do, and at scales that are against their very own core values according to our founding documents and what we demanded when we were founded, and according to the same people who say we should leave the federal government because they're doing less than what the state government is doing. it's just silly, and I just thought this was a funny way to express it. Put what you like in the comments, or how you feel, whether we should secede, how you feel about the Death Star bill, the Texas Regulatory Consistency Act, whether you knew it existed, or how you feel about any of that. Now, I do understand that the Republicans who run the government decided they wanted the power, and they didn't want, Democratic cities to be able to take any power away from them. But again, they didn't have the foresight to understand that if or when they become not in power, they become the minority, even the 49% minority. Now they have taken away their municipalities, their localities' ability to regulate themselves and give it to the government, who will now be against them. In other words, they just don't have the foresight to see that if you give power because the government agrees with you to the government, then at some point the government doesn't agree with you, you are not getting that power back. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.